And now, your daily dose of debate, breaking news, and uncensored views. This is the Michael Medved Show.
And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. A great day where a logjam in our national legislature in the Congress of the United States may be breaking because there was a resolution last night actually, that was passed in the House of Representatives on a 215 to 208 vote, very close, a resolution to push Trump to end the Iran war. It's what the people of America clearly want. There was just a Times Siena poll that was released, a poll that was taken last month, at the very end of last month. It found that 64% of registered voters think Trump made the wrong decision in going to war with Iran. How many people think he made the right decision? 30%. That's all. And now the Congress of the United States has taken its position. Mr. Trump has answered back. We will get to all of that. We'll also get to the votes that continue to be counted on the primary elections from earlier this week, from Tuesday. And there are elections in state after state. And in the all-important California governor's race, the amazing is true at this point. With a majority of the votes counted, Steve Hilton, the only surviving Republican in this contest, is actually leading. And the prospect of a Republican candidate, an effective Republican candidate, by the way, actually winning the race in California looks very real. We will get to the messages of the voting that took place in this country. We will get to that on the Michael Medved Show. And there is also a strange story that deserves at least some attention about members of the Trump family buying their own island. And no, this has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump Jr. He just got married and sent out some really very indulgent video of himself and his bride and on their honeymoon. And this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner. Why are they buying a new island in the Mediterranean? That is also a riddle that needs solving. And there are contradictory messages about Israel and Lebanon. Have they agreed to implement a ceasefire? One story says Israel and Lebanon said they have agreed to implement a ceasefire following negotiations with the U.S. aimed at ending the conflict. Under the agreement, the Americans said pilot zones would be created and controlled by the Lebanese armed forces, and Hezbollah, the Iran-linked militant group, was not part of the talks. What all of this suggests is that there is a profound difference, and it's very important for people to remember this, between the Lebanese government, which is a legitimate reflection of the Lebanese people, and this group of terrorist thugs called Hezbollah, which is hated not only by Israelis, but by most of the non-Shiite people, who are a great majority of the Lebanese population. Meanwhile, the Lebanese armed group, terrorist group, designated as terrorist group by the United States and by our European allies as well, the Lebanese armed group, it says on the BBC, Hezbollah, has emphatically rejected that U.S.-backed ceasefire between Israel and the nation of Lebanon. In a strongly worded statement, The Iran-backed group's leader, Naim Qassem, said negotiations had been futile and humiliating for Hezbollah, and he rejected categorically the broad segments of the Lebanese people who might have a different point of view. This all comes after Israel and Lebanon announced that renewal of their fragile ceasefire with the creation of those pilot security zones inside Lebanon in which Hezbollah operatives, in other words, terrorists, would be banned. In a joint statement released on Wednesday by the U.S. State Department, the three countries, that's the United States, the nation of Israel, and Lebanon, not Hezbollah, the three countries said the deal was contingent on a complete cessation of fire by Hezbollah. Good luck with that. Meanwhile, concerning the war at home, U.S. President Donald Trump has hit back at lawmakers who voted to send him a rebuke over the war in Iran, calling them, the members of Congress who voted against him, calling them unpatriotic. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a measure seeking to halt Trump from taking further military action and amid growing opposition to the war. In a post on Truth Social in response, the president wrote, quote, "Yesterday, at a meaningless vote, the House voted 4 bad Republicans and all of the Democrats to limit my war powers. Right in the middle of my final negotiations to end the war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Who would do such an unpatriotic thing?" Now, he says right in the midst of their final negotiations. How often have we heard that? It has been a month now where we have heard, more than a month, about the ceasefire and the negotiations, and with many messages coming from Iran saying we're not doing any negotiations. We don't believe in negotiations. We don't want it. It is unclear how much legal force, this from the BBC, the House's measure passed in the House of Representatives will actually have. The White House has dismissed its merits. It has also described the move as an unconstitutional attempt to restrict presidential power. The vote, which passed 215 to 208, was to adopt the War Powers Resolution, which would require Trump to withdraw U.S. forces or to finally seek congressional approval for the conflict. The road to actual enforcement would involve the legislative clearing of several thorny political, procedural, and legal battles. Nevertheless, says the BBC, the vote sent an unusually blunt message from Congress to the White House. We'll get to more on that message and a new message from the oil industry, which is not happy with the situation at the moment concerning, you guessed it, the Strait of Hormuz. And there are, as I mentioned, all kinds of polling that indicate that the message from the American people that they sent in the primary elections earlier this week on Tuesday, that message indicates a severe discontent and unease, and not just with the price of gas, but with the way that everything seems to be going in this country. There's also a leading critic of Donald Trump, who is all of a sudden made a plea deal over charges against him involving national security. We will get to that and more, all coming up on The Medved Show.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
And on the Michael Medved Show, America is divided. It's not only divided between Republicans and Democrats. There are now divisions within the Republican Party, certainly profound divisions within the Democratic Party, divisions between Congress and the presidency. No wonder it is difficult to try to negotiate some kind of meaningful settlement that could be seen as a U.S. victory, maybe, with Iran. That is all going on while the president is not clear in what it means that we are honoring a ceasefire. Now, given the fact that there have been some very serious attacks on both sides and that the Iranians broke up the Kuwait airport. They had a major attack on Kuwait, one of our stalwart allies in the Middle East. Not, but still it's on our side. And they went after American resources and American troops. So a reporter was in the Oval Office and asked President Trump to define ceasefire, because President Trump is committed to follow the ceasefire. Here was the presidential response, clip 9.
How do you define ceasefire?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefire is when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
Shooting in a more moderate manner? Does that give you a more moderate death? Is assuming that the bullets come in your direction. There's also President Trump took time off from the ongoing war with Iran, where American lives are definitely at stake in trying to put an honorable end to this war. He actually spent a great deal of his energy and his time talking about the reflecting pool. He weaved about it the way he likes to do the weaving in his oratory. He weaved about it for a good 7 minutes, straight, uninterrupted, in the Oval Office. We'll give you a little bit of a flavor of that right here, clip 10.
We're really doing a job at Lafayette Park, which is really the entrance to the White House. And that's going to be completed very shortly, and it'll be incredible, as it was originally envisioned. Most of it we're doing as originally envisioned. And if you walk across the street to Lafayette Park, you'll see something that's incredible. It's going to be, we'll have it open before July 4th. We wanted to get it open before July 4th. On the reflecting pond, or the reflecting pool, as some people call it, very important to us was the longevity, having it so that it's not closed every day. Well, these are, they just had this done. You're getting a first glimpse, but that's your size compared. So those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including.
It's not a building.
The Empire State Building, World Trade Center, Sears Tower, Chicago. So if you lay it on its side, you'd take 2 or 3 of them to fill it in, because the width is almost 200 feet wide. And actually much more than 2,000, close to, including everything, it's about 2,500 feet in length to the end. And it's going to be beautiful.
But it's not going to be a skyscraper. And he holds up this chart that has a sort of the image of the reflecting pool on the one side, which is not above ground. It's not even 1 story tall. And he puts it next to the profile of other buildings. And this is extraordinary. By the way, proper definition for ceasefire, not shooting in a more moderate manner. A ceasefire, according to the dictionary, is a temporary agreement between warring parties or armies to suspend active hostilities. It is typically implemented to halt violence, not to shoot in a more moderate manner, protect civilians, allow for humanitarian aid delivery, or open a window for formal peace negotiations, which also have not been happening. And President Trump said that our pool is bigger. Okay, first of all, it's not his pool, is it? It wasn't built by him, but now it's being rebuilt by him at the very considerable expense. The President Trump also indicated that he may be unchallenged by his current job. He may actually be looking for another job. He doesn't have enough to do with being the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military on earth. He's interested in what he could do as mayor of New York. He said this in his rambling interaction with the press in the Oval Office. Here's President Trump, clip 19, comparing himself to the
Nobody would be as good as me.
York.
I'd give away everything. I could be the greatest. I would sell them. You're going to get free rent. You're going to get free houses. You're going to get free food. You're going to get free everything. But eventually that ends, and it leads to death, destruction, and squalor 100% of the time. When I watched New York, and, I liked him very much. He stood right here, and he's been in the office a couple of times.
He's talking about
Mayor of New
Mamdani.
York. I think he's a very nice person, and I don't know, he's a smart guy. I don't understand why he thinks it's okay for all these companies that pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes a year to leave. Because you're not going to have any tax base, and you're going to end up in hunger and squalor and death and destruction. In hunger and squalor and death and destruction. I would be better than him if I wanted to go with that route. Ladies and gentlemen, you no longer pay rent.
Okay, the idea that he could be better than Mamdani. Mamdani is a self-described socialist. And President Trump is supposed to be a conservative who has a much better and more positive view of business and the profit motive and the capitalist system than someone who is committed to the ideals of Karl Marx. Is that a surprise? I could be much better than him, than Mamdani. There is more about the vote in Congress, what it means for the midterms, and what it means for the Senate, which is going to have to do something, either positive or negative, about this House passage of the War Powers Resolution. We'll get to that coming up on the Medved Show.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When it matters most, turn to the voices you trust. We go beyond the headlines, bringing you the stories you won't hear anywhere else. Live coverage, sharp analysis, real perspective. At home or on the go. Stay connected when it counts. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
It is big news that the House passed a resolution to block President Donald Trump from ordering further strikes on Iran, which significantly, says the Washington Post, ratcheted up the pressure on the administration to find some way to end the unpopular war. The 215 to 208 vote marked the first time that such a measure has cleared the House or the Senate on a final vote since the start of the conflict, which is more than 3 months ago. It's approaching 100 days. The Senate advanced a similar resolution last month on a procedural vote, reflecting growing impatience with a war that Congress hasn't authorized in any way. The effort faces sizable hurdles, however, before Congress could force Trump to end hostilities. He is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and it doesn't matter that for that power that he has, residual power, that for Republicans, Representatives Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who President Trump crushed basically in a primary recently, he's not going to be in the House of Representatives after January. Representative Tom Barrett of Michigan, Warren Davidson of Ohio, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, who has often stood up against Trump. But they joined Democrats in voting to force the end of the war. And what's remarkable here is there was only one Democrat, only one, who didn't vote for this resolution, and he just didn't vote. That was Representative Golden of Maine, which is a hot political battleground that may determine whether or not Susan Collins gets reelected. That could determine which party is going to control the U.S. Senate. Gregory Meeks, who is a top Democrat on the Foreign Affairs Committee, said, "We are trapped in a war that won't end because an incompetent president, launched it thinking of only his own ego while failing to prepare for the consequences. Diplomacy is the only exit from this," said Representative Meeks. Is the only exit from this, and not more bombing, not more bluster. So saying no to bombing and bluster. Later yesterday, the House bucked Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson on another similarly important foreign policy issue. The House voted 218 to 204 to advance a bill that would provide Ukraine $8 billion in loans and $30 million in long-term security aid. The legislation still requires a final vote before heading to the Senate. The bill, which also imposes additional sanctions on Russia's finance and energy sectors, came to the floor only after 6 Republicans broke ranks and sided with Democrats to support the effort. I have no idea why the overwhelming majority of Republicans would say no to providing this emergency aid to Ukraine. On what basis? At least there were the 6 Republicans who broke ranks and joined the Democrats, who are more clear and less enchanted with Vladimir Putin when it comes to considering the future of Ukraine. Democrats have forced repeated votes on war powers resolutions in both the House and the Senate since the start of the conflict, which polling shows is unpopular. The Democrats are fueled by Trump derangement syndrome. That was what the president wrote today on social media. They would rather have our country fail, said President Trump, than give me or another of many, many victories. The 4 Republicans, that's a whole other story. They're grandstanders, he says. They should be ashamed of themselves. To reach Trump's desk, the Senate resolution is going to require a final vote in the Senate, which could be tough if every senator is voting. And then the House would also need to pass the Senate version before it ever reached Trump's desk. And Trump would almost certainly veto it, forcing the Senate and the House to override his veto with a 2/3 vote in both chambers before the resolution could take effect. The chances of getting a 2/3 vote to override Pence's veto, nil. And all of this is going on in the midst of more visible and profound difficulties within the Republican Party. And Mike Pence, who is promoting his new book, and it's an excellent book, which gives you an alternative between the liberalism of the Democrats and the populism of MAGA Republicans. And the new evidence is a conservative, the new alternative is conservatism. And Vice President Pence will be on our show soon. And what he said on CNN, it seems to me, is a very important message. This is Mike Pence, clip one.
A new threat to conservatism has emerged from within our movement. And I call it the populist right. It essentially advances policies of protectionism, isolationism, marginalizing traditional values. And while they've had some success prevailing on the second Trump administration, not all. I think the second Trump administration has gotten a lot right, secured the border, extended all those Trump-Pence tax cuts, stood up to Iran, stood with Israel. But when you look at the stops and starts on Ukraine by this administration, when you look at voices on the outside that have even questioned our support for Israel, and the economic policies, Kate, nationalization of businesses, broad-based tariffs against friend and foe alike, price controls. I wanted to write a book that it was about what conservatives believe, in the hopes that in the midterms and in 2028, we return our party to those founding principles.
And returning parties to founding principles, very much important. And one of those founding principles involves freedom of the press. And that does not include your freedom, if you're president of the United States, if you're representing all the people, to single out reporters who you dislike and to intensify conflict with them. That was the case for Caitlin Collins yesterday. Wait till you hear the way that Trump attacked this CNN reporter in a very personal way. And there is also good news for John Bolton. He, of course, was a former chief aide, foreign policy aide to President Trump. But he was then charged, persecuted, and prosecuted for handling of sensitive national security documents. Now, today, a plea deal. We'll tell you about that and more coming up on the Medved Show.
Join in your daily dose of debate.
I'm sorry, I cooled my temper here. You had my blood really boiling.
Listen to you occasionally when I'm driving. Turns my stomach every time I do.
You are not always right. Get a grip. You are not always right.
The Michael Medved Show.
And on the Michael Medved Show, there was a little bit of an altercation yesterday involving the president and one of the leading Washington reporters on cable television, Caitlin Collins of CNN. And President Trump got extremely personal in some of his anger at Caitlin Collins, and part of their interchange sounded like this. Clip 18.
Is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead, or is it on hold?
It's, I'd have to ask the lawyers. I don't know. I know one thing, the weaponization. Are you talking about the weaponization fund?
Yeah, what's your decision?
The weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that. I thought that was the greatest thing, because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news, like CNN, like the New York Times, and like others, have abused our people. Wait a minute, be quiet. Have abused our people so badly, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. She was a conservative from Alabama. Can you believe it? But CNN, in particular, CNN, does such false reporting. But now they have new ownership, so maybe it'll straighten it out. I doubt it. But it's hard to straighten garbage out. But CNN has abused, and others have abused so badly. People, these are people that are great people that were destroyed. Their families have been destroyed. Many suicides. They committed suicide. People that went there with love.
Okay, he's talking now about the people who stormed the Capitol building with love, and nothing expresses love like defecating on the floor, which is one of the things that they did, and smashing police officers with poles and baseball bats. And this was all about love. What was remarkable is Trump went on to further criticize Caitlin Collins and to say that she ought to smile more. And this created a big reaction on the part of CNN. And of course, they love it because it gives publicity and standing to their operation in Washington. And what they talked about was the sexism involved with a 79-year-old guy telling an attractive young woman that she ought to smile more. That the idea being that women were supposed to please men, and you please men like Donald Trump by smiling. Do you think that she's going to take that to heart next time she confronts President Trump, which is probably today, that she will be sure to turn on a dazzling smile? I think that's most unlikely. Again, part of what they were arguing on CNN was, imagine if a conservative male politician were told by someone, you really ought to smile more. If somebody said that to Ted Cruz, how would that go down? Or to Pete Hegseth. Honestly, now there's a good example. Pete Hegseth doesn't smile at all. He scowls, he shouts, he screams, he seems very unhappy. Well, who knows? They're rescheduling the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and some of this is sure to come out because I believe that President Trump is planning to be there. He hasn't been at other recent White House Correspondents' Dinners and to speak. You can only imagine what a cheerful and generous speech it will be. Speaking of cheerful and generous, CNN is reporting in an article that is partially written by Caitlin Collins, by the way, that John Bolton, President Donald Trump's former national security advisor turned adversary, is expected to plead guilty over mishandling classified documents, according to sources familiar with the matter. He intends to plead guilty to one felony count of illegal retention of sensitive national security documents. That, according to one of the sources. He has also agreed to pay a $2 million fine, according to one of the sources. A conviction on one count of illegal retention comes with a sentence between 0 and 16 months in prison. Now, my guess is, particularly if he's paying that $2 million fine, that it's going to be much closer to the 0 months than the 60 months, 5 years in prison. The plea deal comes months after the top Trump foe was charged by prosecutors in Maryland for allegedly keeping diary entries from the first Trump White House in his home. Okay, he kept a diary about his own experience, and this is why he is being forced to pay $2 million? Prosecutors accused Bolton of sharing more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities through his personal email account and two unauthorized individuals who CNN has reported are, now this is shocking, his wife, and his daughter. In other words, he sent emails to his wife or his daughter telling them what he was doing. Bolton, who served for 1 year in the first Trump administration, was originally charged with 8 counts of transmission of national defense information and 10 counts of retention of national defense information. Trump had long been demanding that Bolton should be arrested over his 2020 memoir, which is called The Room Where It Happened, that was highly critical of the president. It's also terrific reading. Claiming Bolton should have gone to jail because classified information was contained in the book. But unlike cases against Trump's other perceived enemies like FBI Director James Comey and the now dismissed case against New York Attorney General Letitia James, Bolton's case had maintained the support for Bolton by career prosecutors and investigators, people briefed on the matter previously told CNN. Trump's first Justice Department opened criminal and civil investigations into Bolton's book in 2020, but it was closed within a year. But then the FBI opened a new inquiry into Bolton the next year, still during the Biden presidency, after his email was breached by suspected Iranian hackers as investigators discovered diary-like entries containing top-secret information from his time as National Security Advisor. The moral here, obviously, be extraordinarily careful about what you write, not just what you write in the press, what you write in a book, a best-selling book, by the way, but what you write as part of a day-to-day description of your activities to your wife and daughter. In any event, if he has reached a conclusion of this, I'm glad that he is not fighting the Department of Justice any longer, or other Trump loyalists who seem determined to get revenge on people who may be critical of President Trump. President Trump has also anointed what he considers the greatest phrase in the history of the world. Is it all men are created equal? Is it love your neighbor as yourself? What is the greatest phrase in the history of the world, according to the President of the United States? He made that comment and that selection yesterday, and it's fascinating. There's also the story of a member of Congress who gets emotional and tearful because she believes she has been insulted on the House floor. What does that involve? We will get to that and to much more, all coming up despite our divisions and our deficiencies in this greatest nation on God's green earth.